to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I wake
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am your host, Nadira Lewis, and I have my amazing co-host with me, Thomas Taylor III.
Yeah. Good evening. Let's go.
Yes, if you are watching us for the first time on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, make sure you click like and share if you are blessed by the content that we bring to you each and every Sunday evening. So, welcome, guys.
What's going on, girl? Hey, you look marvelous, boy. You look beautiful. You look marvelous. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm over here fixing my camera, so I'm getting calls. It always happens, so don't mind me.
Yeah, it's all good.
Things, but how are you today? How's everything been going? What have you been up to? What you want to tell them about our topic today?
Yeah, good. All is well. Working on a few things, working on some projects, working on my nonprofit organization, moving it from just kind of on the web base to the community, working on a couple of grants as well as my book, still working on my book. So that's coming out. Also working on a new podcast as well, kind of transitioning to really specifically, gearing towards those individuals who grew up without a father, kind of inside of that lane, because that's a real issue and challenge in society, So I know tonight we want to talk about, have you identified your why? Right now, that's before you start your business, before you kind of make some different moves. Like, do you really understand, and have you slowed down and taken the time to really identify why you feel that you should move into a particular direction? Now, why is that important? That's important because we're all energy, right? So this whole thing is about energy. So if you haven't identified your why and you're utilizing energy in a particular space, are you wasting energy because you're not so sure where you're going? Or are you, gathering all of the energy that you can muster up to head in that particular direction, right? So we're gonna have some fun this evening. We're gonna talk about your why.
Oh man, I'm excited because most people, you hear it in a lot of different circles about understanding your why, but I love the fact that we're going to dig deep into this because it's what you need to push past certain time frames where you, just like we were talking before we aired, how sometimes there you need that momentum to keep going because some people can't do, some people give up after 6 months. They write the vision. So they write the vision, they make it plain, but sometimes what happens in the midst of the vision, sometimes there is discouragement because life happens, things happen. We're going to talk about ways that you can keep the momentum to keep going. Thomas and I have been doing Dinner with the Coaches now for a very long time, over a year. And it takes continue to encourage other business owners. It takes momentum. We have to dig deeper to know our why so that we can be relevant and present, right? To be able to help you become all that you need to be in your business.
Yeah, that's key. Hey, good evening. That's key because sometimes, and we talked about early in the year, and part of my topic for this year is understanding our gifts versus our skills, right? And sometimes, when you really get down to it, our why is in directly proportion to our gifts, right? But unfortunately, from a business standpoint, even from a personal standpoint, sometimes we don't really take the time to discover our gifts, right? So we kind of lean more into, and I say this all the time, our skills. Well, if your skills don't really feed your spirit, man, right? And we understand, most people understand why they're utilizing certain skills, and typically that's to feed your family, right? To pay bills, things of that nature, things that got to be done, right? So that's easily identified, right? My skills and money, right? That's like a direct, trade-off, meaning we're trading time for money.
Mhm.
But we have this other thing. This other thing is tapping on us. It's our spirit, man. It's tapping on us, things that we like to do, things that people say we do well, right? Things that we just kind of do naturally and we take it for granted because we do those things just automatically, systematically, without anybody even telling us. See,
Yeah.
those things are kind of closer to our gifts. Now, if you take that energy and then if you understand what to do with it, right? If you understand what to do with that energy when you found that it's kind of wrapped around your gifts, now we
Mhm.
can talk about why that's necessary
Mm.
and why that's important, right? Kind of like the discussion we was
Yeah.
having prior to is when
Mhm.
when life hits, ladies and gentlemen, and life
Mhm.
hits us all
And
like
it will.
nobody, huh?
And it will.
Oh, it will. Oh, it will. Yeah, nobody goes unscathed, man. Nobody goes underneath the radar, right? And life just happens to all of us. So when you physically get tired, right? Because life seems like it's just beating you down. Like you're the only one that life is beating down, right? What are you pulling from? Right? What reserve do you have? Right? And I was talking about having like two tanks, having a physical tank and then a spiritual tank. So when your physical tank is almost on empty, you can go ahead
Mm.
and pull from a spiritual tank, which is a higher level, to still be able to push through. That pushing through, that thrust is your why, right? Now why
Mm.
is it, you know, in proportion to your gifts? Because it's something that you was born with. So once you identify
Mm.
it, Nadira, right, it's of a spiritual nature. You didn't go to school
Mhm.
for it. Nah, you discovered it,
Right.
because you was born with
Mm.
it, right? So that's your spiritual tank. But the challenge is, what are we putting in our spiritual tank? So when we're on reserve, when we got to pull from it, we have something in there. And what we talked about was, what are you doing for you, ladies and gentlemen? Right?
Mhm.
What have you done for you lately? I did a reel on that. Like, what have you done for you lately? How many points have you put on the board for John, for Fred, for Mary,
Mhm.
for Ruth, for you? How,
Mhm.
how many points? Just think about today, ladies and gentlemen. Just not even yesterday, not even tomorrow. What did you do today for you? Not for your
Right.
kids, not for your husband, not for your wife, not for your mama, not for your grandma, not for your mother-in-law, not for your father-in-law, not for your grandkids, not for your neighbor, not for your church folks.
Mm.
See? That's
Wow.
10 individuals I named. And when you slow
That's
down and think about it, Nadira, sometimes people can't even think of anything they did for themselves. So now what happens is, when your spirit, like just your physical self, not your spirit, but when you physically are tired, what happens? You tap out.
mhm.
You feel
Right.
lonely. You
Right.
start to feel a little depressed. You're not so sure
Right.
about what you're doing. You're a little bit unfocused, right? A lot more distractions. You see, you,
Right.
you you start going into the spiral effect. And then next thing you know, that thing that you were doing, you just kind of put down. Now I get it, because again, it happens to all of us. But the question is, what are you tapping into that's higher than you, that can
Mm,
pull you and stretch you through? And whatever it
mm,
is, your why should be linked to it, right? It's like connecting onto a wagon, because
right.
your why, that's what pulls you through the times, ladies and gentlemen, when you just feel like giving up, because you think it just doesn't matter, or you think nobody cares, or nobody's watching, nobody's paying attention, right? Nadira?
Wow. That's so true. Even just when we created this topic, and just my thought process the whole day, just thinking about that topic. And I really love that even as we build these different topics, that we have a lot of discussions, and the topics come out of the discussions that
Mhm.
we have. So we're not just shooting from the hip. We're not just taking words, putting them together and throwing them in the atmosphere. These topics and discussions come from things we discuss, things we ponder on. And I think what the topic for tonight about identifying your why is so important, because as we talked about earlier, sometimes as a business owner, you get physically tired, right?
Yeah.
Not and the physically, and the reason why I believe you get physically tired, not because you're doing a lot of labor, it's because in business there's a lot of mental work that goes into what we do, right? And that
Hmm.
mental work requires us to, it can pull on us so much that if we don't take time, like you said, to put points on the board and to
Yeah.
balance,
Yeah.
then what happens is, even with the right why, you'll still sometimes feel discouraged. You'll still sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, am I making an impact? But what I'm,
Hmm.
and when I say I'm learning, because I feel like we should always be in a position where we're always learning. What I'm learning is, sometimes we have to take life one moment at a time, right? Sometimes we have to
Hmm.
learn how to with the changes that take place in our business, in our life, one moment at a time. Because what happens is, when as business owners, we're problem solvers, right?
Hmm.
Problem solvers, especially if this is what this is what you do, right? Problem solvers always seem to see problems that they want to solve all the time. So you're always in think mode. You're always in think mode, right? I'm gonna fix this. I need to do this. Do. But we don't take time to sit back. That's why you see people that are in business and they look, sometimes they just ran down, especially if they're giving, and their businesses are successful, but them personally are drained.
Yeah.
They're discouraged. They show up on camera excited, or they show up at their workplace excited, but behind closed doors, they're empty, right?
Hmm.
Because they are reaching in their cup, right? They're not only because whatever it takes to solve whatever problem that they have, whether for their business, it's going to take from them emotionally too, right? Because if you're going to do your job, your business, your work 100%, it's going
Hmm.
to involve you, right? It's going to involve you being present. And sometimes you being present means that you have to, sometimes we don't allow ourselves the time to say, you know what, let me steal away some time and make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah.
Make that, because my business, if your business is running itself, it's your business is gonna, you die today, your business is gonna go on to like your people gonna like be like, oh, was a great, or he was a great person, right? I think I think when you really define success at a deeper level than just um, physical or tangible things, then what
Hmm.
happens is that why starts to form. Like, right, it
Yeah.
starts to form. You start to realize that, what I do, right, is just that. It's what I do. But who I am is who I am. And the things that make up who I am is going to be just as important as the things that I do. if I don't take time to restore myself, restore my health, restore my mind, right, then my business is going to be affected by it. It's going to be affected because if your business requires, especially if your business requires you to show up,
Yep.
oh boy,
You got some problems, right?
I really loved how when you said about your voice, nothing can replace your voice. Nothing can replace you in your business, right? Your business can run itself. Your business can run itself, but your business is operating off of the energy, the work that you put in it, that you put into it, right? But if you're burnt out and you can't function at your best, then everything around you is affected.
Yeah, no question. And then if you're by yourself, now what happens? Like who do you have to assist you, right? To pull on, right? So I want to talk about two analogies. So right now it's football season, right? So we're on live now, but half the world is watching football, right? Whether you're a Giants fan, Falcons fan, Cowboy fan, I'm a Cowboy fan, scores tied up, right? So it's just like that. And what I mean by that is in football, you have offense and defense, right? So let's say as a business owner, you run offense. Well, life is on the defensive side, right? So what does that mean? That means life is trying to get the ball from the business owner, right? That's the defense. That's life. So when you line up and you say, hey, yep, I'm on the offensive. I'm going after the end zone. I'm going after my goals. Well, guess what? Life is on the other side saying, oh no, I'm going to do everything in my power to stop Nadira from obtaining her goals, right? Offense and defense, right? Look at Nadira. Offense and defense. It's real basic, right? What is the defense's job? The defense's job is to stop the offense. Well, what is life's job? Life's job is to see how bad you want that thing you say you want. Why? Because life is here to provide some resistance. It doesn't say, okay, Nadira, just go right on through. No, life is that defense, right? It doesn't mean you can't score, Nadira. What it means is there's going to be some opposition. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be something on the other side to oppose you, to stop you, to try to negate you from obtaining a touchdown, Nadira. So how bad do you want to make a goal? How bad do you want to score a touchdown, Nadira? Right. Life just said, hey, I'm only gonna prevent you if you allow me. Right? So I'm gonna typically use a lot of the same schemes, and let's see if you can identify certain schemes so you can create other plays, possibly trick plays, to still obtain your goal. Right? So the goal, which is the goalpost, it shouldn't move, Nadira. It shouldn't move.
Right.
The goalpost should be your why, to pull you. It shouldn't move, right? Because you should know what it is. Well, how do I know? Because you started with Rebecca. Write it down. Once you write it down, it stops moving. Okay, so now you know what it is. So life is designed to be that resistance, to be that defense, to slow you down, to see if it can take the ball from you. That's what it's designed to do. It doesn't mean that it's going to stop you. Nah, it's just going to give you resistance. Now, you can quit at any time. I can't take this, man. I can't deal with this thing no more. Hey, anytime you can walk away. How bad do you want it? And then the other analogy is Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrants. Okay.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
Is an awesome book. Why? Because it has 4 quadrants, right? The E, the B, a S, and an I, right? And the E is for employee, right? So you want to move through these quadrants. Employee, and the S is self-employed, right? And then the B is a business owner. And ultimately, you want to get to the I, which is investor. Okay.
Mm.
So as a business person, what's the plan? What's the goal? Right? Do you want to stay in the self-employed quadrant? Do you just want to stay in the B quadrant? Are you an employee and you want to move from an employee to self-employed? Right? Like you see all these different things, but again, they're attached to, okay, why? Why do you want to move from one quadrant to the other?
Mm-hmm.
You should know that reason why. Because it's going to be in every quadrant, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be something designed on the defensive side to slow you down, to see how bad you want it. Nadira?
That's so true. And I think that's why it's important for the ones that, it's almost like I really understand the importance of business relationships, because in having partnership, because there are times when we all go through different ups and downs and different seasons in our life, right? And so you said something to me in a few of our conversations that you constantly say over and over again, is that nothing can replace your voice. Nothing can replace your voice. Each of us have an assignment, right? With our mouth, we have the ability to encourage the people around us, right? We have the ability, which is why we do dinner with the coaches. We do dinner with the coaches to help business owners, right? To stay on alert, to stay focused on their gifts, stay focused on what it is that God called them to do in their business, right? And then equip them with the right tools to stay there, right? We've been doing this, and there are times that sometimes you just, depending on what you got going on today, sometimes you're just tired physically, not from doing the work, but just tired from having to do so many other things that sometimes you get tired from being present to where you need to be, right? You always there, right? We always there to say, okay, let's remember why. What did God say?
Yep. It's like,
what did God tell you to do is what always goes through my mind when I get up some days and feel like, I never feel like I don't want to do what I'm called to do. There are some days I get up and I'm tired physically because of of all these other things that I had to do, right? And so it's sometimes when I do show up and I'm present here, it fuels me. My why fuels me. Energy, right?
That's what's up.
Push past where I might have felt moments ago that I didn't want to do nothing. I don't want to do it. Most of the time, most of the time, our tiredness is not because we're tired of doing what we do. We're tired because we're being pulled in so many other directions, and we haven't learned how to prioritize, right? And learn how to be fueled by our purpose, right? And I think the more we start to allow ourselves we establish a tunnel vision, right? And to focus on what it is that we're supposed to do in the marketplace, right? You'll be surprised that you'll be fueled. Your vision and your purpose should fuel you, no matter how tired you are, with whether you're working a regular job, trying to leave a 9-to-5 to be a full-time entrepreneur. You have to do whatever it takes to stay focused on your why. Why? And some people might say, well, what do you mean? What is your why? What is your why? Your why is the reason that you do what you do. It is the dominating force that pushes you past your physical condition to say, you know what, this is what I was born to do. I can't eat or sleep unless I do this, right? Unless I become this, right? Which is why I always say becoming a woman of power, because I believe you should always be in a position where you're growing and learning, right? We're always becoming, right? We should become better business owners. We should become more purposeful. We should become more intentional, right? And then and that's why it's good to join like our group. We have a group called Dinner with the Coaches group, right? And in that group, you have the support of other business owners, right? Where they're there. And the purpose of the group is to be able to help and encourage other business owners that may get up sometimes and feel like, I just need that extra encouragement for one more day. I just need that word for one more day. So if you have not joined our group, Dinner with the Coaches group, make sure you join our group. Send us a message, Thomas and I, a message, and we will add you to the group. It's solely for business owners or aspiring business owners. And let us help you, right? Let us help you. Let's stay connected, because it does matter. It does matter who you have in your circle when you're trying to accomplish what it is that you have been designed to do. It matters who you listen to, who you watch, who you set before you as an example, right? And it's good because Thomas and I, we didn't, it's nobody expected us to be able to do from two totally different sides.
Different worlds. Amen.
Right? But God brought us together to make a difference and with purpose, to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do in our own business, and then keeping each other accountable, as well as keeping other business owners accountable for doing what you know that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Amen. And we're going to go to break for a minute here, but when we come outside of break, you said something that you and I talk about all the time, but I think it's kind of time to talk about it in front of our audience, and that's how to utilize our voice, right? And how significant that is, because I promise you, Nadir, there's a lot of people that's watching us right now that don't want to use their voice.
Yeah.
Right? They want to hide behind.
That's why sometimes people are fearful of going live, because they're fearful of hearing. There's no confidence.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Fearful of going live, right? When you go live, you use your voice. And the reason why I want to talk about that in the next segment is because anybody that's watching, whoever you follow, like whatever individual you deemed as the guru in your industry, in your business, I guarantee you heard them speak. They did not become who they are without speaking, without using their voice. So sometimes, especially in this internet world, we this is just what we do. We hold other people to high esteem, and we feel like, we can never, or we will never be where they are. And then sometimes we, aspire to be like them, but we hide behind not using our voice. It's such a contradiction. It's like how do you expect to get anywhere without using your voice? You want to put up memes, you want to put up copy, you want to put up your pictures, you want to put up this nice, eloquent information and sayings, but to hit the button to go live to Facebook or Instagram. Oh no, I'm not doing that. Ain't no way.
I believe because sometimes we're hearing ourselves for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. When you're going live and you're not even looking at what people per se are thinking. You're listening to what you're saying, and you're looking at you. Am I presenting myself? You're
critiquing yourself. You're critiquing yourself.
You are your worst critique in this world. Let me tell you, there has been many a times, right, that I have gone live, and I remember thinking to myself, what the heck are you saying? What are you saying? What you keep going? Like, what in the world? And then I go back and then I listen to it and I go, wow, that actually did make sense.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. But at the time, when you talking sometimes, you like, what the heck Like sometimes I know I say that to myself, like, what the heck? You know, what did I just say? Did that even make sense? You know, because I know what I want to say in my head, but sometimes sometimes you have to get out there and you have to just make yourself present. Moses had the same problem. It's funny because I think about what you said with Numbers 20 about what God, about what that thing just embedded so deep in my heart. I was like, because I hear a lot of people, I come across a lot of people, and we're gonna take a break after we say that, after this, and we're gonna go in, more into discussion about this. But I had talked to somebody, and the biggest thing they always say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Time. And I did a video on, is it preparation or is it procrastination?
Oh, that's good.
And that's because good. Sometimes I think I'm going to replay that video.
Yeah, that's good.
Because sometimes what we consider to be, because we're waiting for all the everything to line up, right? I don't think everything ever lined up exactly the way I wanted to before I hit go. You know, but we as a people, we are conditioned to connect excellence.
Yeah.
Forward. So if we don't feel like we're going if it's not at a spirit of excellence yet, we wait until we feel like it's considered the perfect time. But sometimes the perfect time is just doing it now, because we think we have all the time in the world, you know, to do whatever it is that we call it, not realizing. And I said this in a couple of videos. I think I did a video with Latrell, and I said, we are no longer useless. Our gifts are no longer useless if we don't operate in our season. Because what if Moses decided, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna go out here and do this. I'm gonna just wait. It ain't time. I don't talk right. I'm gonna wait till I take a speech class. Wait until I got this divine anointing to come on me and to do what I do. And what happens is you be waiting forever. And that's what some of us have done. We've allowed years and years to go by because we feel like, oh, I'm not ready. But really, it's not that you're not ready. It's just you're procrastinating. You're saying that I'm getting ready. You're saying it's preparation, but it's not really preparation. It's procrastination. So, but we're gonna be right back. We're gonna take a quick break, and after that, we'll continue this conversation on your why and why you need to understand, even the more importance as we begin to discuss this, why your why has to be deepened, right? So that you can continue to push past the momentum when you get tired of doing this. Right back.
Amen.
And we are back here with Dinner with the Coaches with myself, Nadira Lewis, and my co-host, Thomas Taylor III.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so if you've missed the first half, you've got to go back and watch the replay. We talked about some amazing things concerning your why in terms of why in terms of business. So, Thomas, you want to go ahead and introduce us to the second segment? Let's get more deep in depth with what
Yeah.
because
So
understand that.
yeah, so the next part of this is in terms of your why is understanding how to utilize your voice, right? So why is that so important? Because if you aspire to be, successful, great, and all these different things, at a certain point in your tenure, you're gonna have to speak to somebody. You're gonna have to say something. And in this, time right now in these internet streets, everything is social media, right? So if you look at TikTok, right? That's one of the reasons why TikTok is also so popular, because in a lot of those different videos, people are not really talking, they're just doing different things, right? And some people are utilizing their voice, right, which is good. But if you just kind of look at it, whether they be dancing or like doing all these different things, again, because most people just hide behind not saying anything. And then you utilize Moses, right? So when you just look at Moses real quick, when you understand that parable, when, God told him to, hey, speak to the rock, right? And what did he do? He struck the rock. Now, why is that? You're saying, well, Thomas, why are you mentioning that? Because when you really dig deep and start to peel back the onion, as some people say, Moses had a speech impediment, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't think that he was, leery of him not articulating what he was supposed to say properly? Well, if you go back when he went in front of Pharaoh, what happened? God sent Aaron with him, right, to deliver the message that he couldn't articulate. Well, now Moses is all by himself. And what did God tell him? He said, speak to the rock. And he, like I was saying before, what did he do? Instead of using his gift, which was his mouth, he used his skill, which was his rod, right? Because he was practicing with his rod. Threw his rod down, boom, right? That was his skill. He was comfortable with that. He was good. So what did he do? He struck the rock, utilizing his skills. But because of that, see, he couldn't enter into the promised land. So again, like we spoke, it's like, what, ladies and gentlemen, what you don't see behind, you not utilizing your gifts, especially with your voice. This is what you don't see. What you don't see is what it's gonna cost you.
That's really good.
What is it gonna cost you, ladies and gentlemen, for not speaking to the people that you were assigned to? Now I got a little note here. And I'm gonna share with you guys what this note says. Just think about this. If I was able to put all the people that were counting on you in a room, right? If you knew who was counting on you to use your voice, if I took all those people and put them in a room, you know how on all of these detective shows we see the interrogation room, the two-way mirror, right? You can see them, but they can't see you. If I put all these people in a room that they couldn't see you, but you can see them, and I was just saying, Nadira, now look at those people in that room. All of those people are the people that you can't see that are counting on you. Now, I'm showing you through a two-way mirror so you can visualize and you can see them, but they don't know you exist, Nadira. They don't know you behind that mirror. They don't know you behind that wall. Why? because you're not using your voice.
Right.
Well, all those people in that room are counting on you to say something.
Right.
It's cool to type and to say it mean, but to hear your voice, to give them clear and precise instructions and direction. But see, there's sometimes we don't feel we have that power.
That's true.
Now you say, Thomas, why is that? Because we believe what they said about us. We believe what your auntie said, what your grandma said, what your cousin said, what your daddy didn't do.
Right.
See, like we hold on to those memories, Nadira. So now what happens is it's hard for us to see ourselves past that point of pain outside of ourselves, to think that little old me from South Carolina, from Philadelphia, from this little place in New York, from this little place upstate, from this little place in New Jersey, from this little place in Mississippi. You don't think you can have that type of impact. So like you said, are we preparing? Are we procrastinating because we're not so sure? Now, why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? You might say, Thomas, what's the point? The point is, sometimes we hide behind the fear of what could be, standing in the pain of knowing what is.
Wow, that's good. That's so good. And it's true. And I think a lot of it has to do also with, as long as you're defined, as long as the only counsel you get is from people, right? And you never allow God to be your counselor, right? Then what happens is your mood rise and fall based on what other people say. As we were talking about earlier today about what words, how powerful words are, right? Everything starts with a word, whether it's a word in thought or words, right? It starts with a word. Discouragement starts with words, right? Depression starts with words. Doesn't take away from all the chemical aspects that go along with it, but people only think of it as, and I'm not taking away from chemical imbalances and things going on in your body, but you can have things going on in your body, right? In your mind, right? Because when you think about being depressed, it means you're being pressed down. You're being most of us are pressed down emotionally, right? And so what happens is we're thinking about all the things that, that we're disappointed about and frustrated about. Really, dis-ease, really, when you really think about it down to the core, and I love when Charmaine teaches this, dis-ease comes from your body not being at ease, right? When your body is not being at ease. And there's different things that happen in our body that cause our body to be at ease. And a lot of the times it is our thought process, right? Yeah. How do you become happy? Think about it. How do you become happy? Yeah. Do you become happy because you just have the gift of being happy? Or do you become happy because of a thought?
Yeah, think happy thoughts.
You think, the Bible says, as a man think in his heart, right? So
is he.
So if you're thinking, there's a lot of times, and this is true testimony, right? There's a lot of the times there has been some things that, and this is when we pay attention and we listen to God. This is why it's important for us to follow his voice and his instruction, because sometimes he let us know when things are getting ready to happen or things are going to happen. And we have time to prepare. You know what I'm saying? Our bodies. When I got COVID about 2 years ago, right? It was like 20. Gosh, it's amazing because it's already 22. It's already almost 2023 already. It's like, wow. I had COVID in 2021, right? When I had COVID, before I got COVID, I started doing some things, right? And my body started changing and adjusting some things, right? When I knew that my body was going to be attacked by COVID, it's almost as if he was leading me to do all these things to prepare my body, right? before it actually happened. So when it happened, though I may have been down for like a couple of days, even had to go to the hospital, right? I recovered, it didn't attack me as bad as it would have other people, because, and I, even in that moment, I wasn't, my mind was, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get better. I didn't go around saying, oh my gosh, look at me, I have COVID. Look at me, I have COVID. I knew that this happened and that I was going to get through this. I set my mind on it, right? I didn't allow it to consume me. And I think what happens with depression is our thoughts consume us. And when your thoughts consume you, what happens when you're consumed? You're overwhelmed, right? When you're overwhelmed in your thought, because we got every thought that goes to your mind is not your thought. Sometimes the enemy throws words in our head and we take ownership of it, right? And we go, oh, that's my thought. Oh, that's my thought. That's my thought, right? We take ownership of it, right? And we hold it like it's ours. And so what happens is we don't realize when we're holding it, our bodies are not made to hold it. Right? So what happens is your body is not made to hold all of that negative stuff, right? All that negative energy. So what happens? You get overwhelmed, right? And what happens when you ever try to hold a kid that's full of energy, right? What happens?
Impossible.
And you get overwhelmed because you can't hold them, right? It's the same way with our thought process. I think what happens is when we're overwhelmed with thought patterns that are going in our head, then what happens is it consumes us, right? And we begin to act according to how we feel in the moment, right? And then it takes a while to come up out of that because you're so consumed. But when you make up in your mind, right, and you apply the word of God, right? The word of God is no magical wand. It's practical and it's spiritual, right? And so as a man thinketh in his heart, so if God formed the world off of his words, he didn't go and reach in somewhere else to build this earth. In the beginning was the word, and the word was God, with God, right?
Yes, ma'am.
He became flesh and dwelt among us. There's just so much power in that one statement. Everything starts with a word. He created the world in 7 days, not by no wand, by his word. And if we're made in his image and his likeness, why don't we, when you think about what something is an image of, right? We're made in his image and his likeness. So you mean to tell me I can't create my own environment based on my words? Are you telling me I cannot utilize, right? I can't utilize my words to create my atmosphere? I can't utilize my words. There's sometimes I look at and I'll be like, you know what? It doesn't matter what's going on around me. I'm determined that I'm going to operate the way I'm designed to operate, whether it's in my personal life or in my business life. Stop allowing your thoughts, right? And if you have issues, and people will say, well, how do I deal with these thoughts? These thoughts come in and out of my head all the time. You get rid of negative thoughts by replacing it with another thought. And if all the thoughts that are coming through your mind are negative, then you need to get around some people that can help you exchange. You get with some coaches, get in the community of people that are speaking differently, right? So that you can get exposure to something new. If you're only exposed to negativity all day, all night, if that's all you eat, sleep, and breathe, right? Then guess what? That's exactly what you're going to portray, because that's what you're around. But you get around some people that are talking different, walking different, you notice you start to look a little different. This is a rocket science.
Yeah.
Right? Your kids, what you do because they see, they see what you do and they say, oh, you look up and your kids are doing, like I sit with my legs crossed, right? My daughter, both of my daughters, my young daughters, do the exact same thing. They sit down, I'm watching them, and I'm like, what in the world? They sleep. They sit with their legs
they
crossed.
watch.
Well, guess what? That's what I see, right? I seen growing up, having an aunt that's very, very feminine, watching her sit with her legs crossed, you know, sitting and I was like, and it just came by nature. You know, it just came natural. I just started sitting with my legs crossed. Well, guess what? It's the same in business, right? When you see people that are doing what when you see us doing what we do, right? And you see us consistently doing what we do, we're not perfect. And we, you know, there's some days we're probably thinking, you know, we got some ways and some things we need to do in our business to make our business better. But there's some people that watch us and be like, you know what? I'm inspired by that. I'm going to do this differently in my business, right? We inspire one another. So if you want different results, you got to put yourself in different environments, right? But not just any environment. You got to put yourself in environments that are conducive to change the area and conducive to places you want to go and be and think. You want to think different. You got to be around different people that think differently so that you can be exposed. We only think of exposure in terms of physical things, but man, you can ever get exposed to somebody who thinks differently. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
On your horizons. Yeah. And that's good stuff, you know, because here at Dinner with the Coaches, what we do is what Nadira just did is she identified a gap. Right. So let me kind of break that down. Right. So I call them gap fillers. Me and my partner, Eugene, we've been talking about this for years, where it's something that even in business, even in corporate America, it's a gap where people know that there's a gap, but people are waiting for somebody to tell them to fill a gap. Well, it's so easy to beat the masses because if you see a gap, fill a gap. Just like they say, you know, if you see something, say something. If you see a gap, fill a gap. And what you did, Nadira, was you identified a gap. Let me explain the gap. The gap was we start talking about how to use your voice, right? So we talked about understanding how to use our voice. And there's a lot of people that's watching that's afraid to go live, to use their voice. Now, I'm not saying that going live is the only way to use your voice. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you're active in these internet streets, that's how you're going to get your business, your service across faster if you use your voice. That's what I'm saying, right? Because you can easily articulate your service, how you're feeling, or just something inspirational to individuals, right? So that's here, right? People are afraid to use their voice. Then you talked about 1 John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So guess what's in the middle of these two things? It's called belief. Right? Because if you believe in the beginning was the Word, and if you're afraid to use your voice, what do you believe? Because what that says is that your belief isn't great enough to utilize what he gave you. But it worked for him though. If you believe that, but you don't feel that it'll work for you, that's a gap. Because you can read scriptures all day long, right? It's right there. You can read it for yourself. Now you don't have to believe it, but if you are a believer, and if you believed it for him, but you're afraid to utilize what he gave you, that's a gap. That's a gap, right? And it's a direct proportion to what you believe about you.
Right.
Take everybody out of the equation. What do you believe about you? Do you believe what they said about you, or do you believe what he said about you?
That's good.
See, that's belief, right? So it's almost like splitting your brain in two, because you have to have a different mindset. You have to get past all of the naysayers, all of the imperfections, right? Like all of the failures. Can you get past that and still show up to utilize what he gave you? Part of that is your voice, right? Now, he may have given you other things, service, stuff like that, but inside of there, He's giving you the ability to articulate, to take this
Mm.
white canvas and use your voice to paint a picture on this white canvas of everything
Yeah.
that he placed inside of you. Why? Because most people are visual. They need to see it
Mm.
in order to believe it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
if
agree.
you know that, can you paint a picture so they can see it in their mind's eye, in their third eye, before it becomes physical? That
Mm.
gap is called belief, ladies and gentlemen. And if you continuously work on your belief, on what he told you, right? And understand that that should overpower anything. It should trump anything that anybody ever said about you, anything that you ever did that you canceled yourself out, anything that ever happened to you because you felt it was so traumatic that you can't go on.
Mm. Wow.
I just challenge you to believe
Yeah.
past that. Why?
Yes.
Why is that important, Thomas? Right? And I talk about this all the time in Purpose Driven Life, page 14. Right? The first thing it says is, it's not about you. I
That's
didn't say
right.
those things didn't happen to you. What I'm saying is, those things that happen to you aren't just for you.
Mm.
See? So, Nadira, you asked me a question when we was off camera before. It's like, how do I push through? How do I get past when I don't physically feel like going any further?
Mm-hmm.
And I use an analogy of having two tanks, right?
Mm.
A physical tank and a spiritual tank. When my
Mm-hmm.
physical tank is on empty, I utilize my spiritual tank to keep going. Because inside
Mm.
of my spiritual tank is the reason why I'm moving physically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I understand from a spiritual nature why I'm moving and where I'm going. So, ladies and gentlemen, right? Are you filling your spiritual tank? I talked to Nadir earlier. I said, how's that? Are you putting points on the board for you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing things to feed your spirit man first? Or are you
Right.
using everything to feed everybody else? Are you pouring
Right.
into everybody else's cup? Like everybody that come by, your mama, your daddy, your sister-in-law, your brother-in-law, your children, your granddaddy, right? Your auntie, your
Mm-hmm.
church folks, your neighbors, and then you look and you're on
Yeah.
empty. You got nothing,
Yeah.
right? And then you didn't even take time to go ahead and start to, put something in your spiritual reservoir.
Mm.
Why? Because nobody shared this with you, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody ever
Mm.
articulated this to you the way we're talking about it, right?
Right.
But that helps all of us, right? We're included. That helps all of us
Mm-hmm.
move past our point of failure, our point of exhaustion
Mm-hmm.
physically, just physically, right? Because if your mind says you can do it, your body will follow,
Your body will follow.
right? So when you understand that from a relationship standpoint, right? That's kind of the thing. So if you speak to a mature woman, what does she want? She wants somebody to stimulate her mind, not her
Mm.
body. Why?
Right.
Because if you get her in her mind, her body's gonna follow.
Mm.
Because if
That's
you
so
just go
true.
after her body, you may get that once or twice. But if she doesn't feel that there's no mental stimulation, that's a wrap. You can't come back.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap, right? She
Mm-hmm.
needs to be stimulated mentally. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same philosophy. It's the same concept, right? So when you understand the things that all of us are designed and destined to do, I just
Mm.
challenge everybody that's listening, right? Can you get past the hurt and the pain, the things that typically stop you and prevent you from moving forward? Can
Mm-hmm.
you take yourself out of the equation, right? Can you understand and document why you're doing something? Can you start to apply certain principles to help you move that why, right? and then ultimately utilize your voice to help you get there. It's a winning formula. Like, you can't lose. You can't lose. Why?
Wow.
Because you will outlast most people. Right? For two reasons. Number one, just keep showing up. Why is that important, Thomas? Because most people won't. If you show up, that's half the battle. I teach that all the time. Just show up. That's half the battle. Now, just do a little bit more, and just be consistent. Again, I've been going live on Sundays for almost 2 years. Right? Just consistent. Right? I'm pivoting, moving that now. Right? For certain reasons. I didn't go live early. I'm gonna go live probably before the night's over. Just to give them something different, just because. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that why is really important. And use your voice and have fun. Like be okay. Like, don't be my name is Thomas, and I want to tell you I'm just so inspired. But no, just have fun. I come on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thomas Taylor III coming to you live from Lawrenceville. You know what I'm saying? Just like, it's energy. People are attracted to energy, right? Get your energy up.
Right.
And then your word, you already got them, because now you got them. I went live yesterday out at Elizabeth Baptist Church doing some fun community stuff for the community, help put water together to take to Jackson, Mississippi. They're still having a water crisis. But just going live, like we was live out there, man, laughing and just full of energy. People was like, wow, okay.
Right.
Nadira, you could go ahead and close this out, boy. Because I could go on and on, boy.
I always enjoy when we get together and really get to dialogue about everyday life in business, because everybody talks about all the great things in business, but it's good, when you come home, you actually talk to people who are doing it and helping you to get through past those moments, because sometimes you do need momentum to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to know where the momentum should come from makes all of a difference in the success of your business. Who you look to, like you said, if you're taking points on the board for yourself, that adds to your momentum, right? Because sometimes we think we got to have it all together. We got to have it all together, and you don't have to have it all together. You just have to be able to make a decision. I love when Bob Proctor said he was, and I'll say this before we close out. I love when Bob Proctor said he was counseling a family. And they were saying they wanted to buy a house, and he said, "You haven't bought a house because you haven't decided you want a house." Yeah. And they were like, "Yes, we did." Right. Like, we did. He said, "No, you have to first make the decision." Yeah. And I think with momentum, I think what gives me momentum to keep going in my business and keep growing and elevating in my personal life is the momentum to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to see happen. This is what I'm going to do to make that happen, and decide to do it.
Yeah.
And decide to do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions for Thomas and I, please put it in the comments. We'll be more than happy, even after the broadcast, to answer any questions you have. And we want to ask you, what are some things that you do in your life that helps build your momentum when you feel like you don't know, when you're lost? Or what are some of the things that drive you? What are some of your whys that drive you to do and to be the person that you are in your business? So put it in the comments and let us know. Let's engage. Let's talk about this even after we go off the air. Again, if you are not a part of our Dinner with the Coaches group, make sure you send Thomas and I a message. We would love to be able to add you to the group. We're going to be doing some amazing things, and we want you to be a part of it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thomas, did you have any final words before we actually end?
Nah, just I said nah, keep talking, right? It's just that, take some time, ladies and gentlemen, right? Just slow down for a moment. Take some time to really understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? And start to believe that you can, no matter what it looks like. Just start to believe that you can, right? That's the beauty about vision. Why? Because vision has nothing to do with sight, right? Just believe in your mind's eye that you can, and that's your responsibility. That's it. After that, don't worry about the how. The how, like even Les Brown says, like the how is none of your business. Just believe in the why.
Good. That's good.
Right? That's just it. That's all I want you to do. Just believe that you can. And you don't have to tell anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just believe it yourself, because when you start to tell people, now they start to add that inkling of doubt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So first, start to get your own confidence and your own belief. I'm not saying it's bad to tell people, but it's a time.
Absolutely.
Right? When you locked on, when you know, then start to release it. Because when the naysayers come, they don't move you. Right? They can say what they say, but you don't second guess yourself. See, that's what happens a lot of times. We say stuff too early, and now we second guess ourselves. Right? When I decided to change my last name and my family's last name, I got a lot of family members who discouraged me, and they told me like, "Well, why you should do that? You've been Searles all your life. That doesn't matter." But I stood firm though, because I understood why. Then they circled back later on and they apologized, because then they realized why it was important to me. Right? But it didn't move me, because I understood why.
Mm-hmm.
And God provided the how. I didn't know the how. I knew the why. That's a whole nother topic. But thank you guys. It's been a plum-pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege.
Wow. Well, after that, there's nothing else more to say. We'll see you during the week. Have an amazing week. IBG Careers is looking for customer service representatives to service their clients from home. If interested, please apply at www.ibgcareers.com.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go.